Let me stop with that. As we are running late for lunch, I don't want to take further time away from the main event of the morning, which is the interaction with our director, Professor Bhaskar Ramamuthi. So thank you all for coming, and please remain seated as we invite Professor Bhaskar to the stage.
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's great to see the energy here, the number of people. I think you'll have to move it to SAC or CLT next time. It's really, I would like to join Gautam in congratulating the Office of International Alumni Relations, and also the staff and Nagarajan in particular for conceiving of this kind of a reunion day. It's really catching fire, I would say. Very nice to see the 68, 78, 88. What happened to the 98 batch? Okay. I think that's the period when people are busy with their own lives. Okay, so 15 years after graduation. But anyway, all these batches together. In fact, yesterday I was spending some time with the 68 batches. Such a large number of them have turned up. It's really heartening to see them. They were just the 5th batch to graduate out of IIT Madras, and last year we of course celebrated our 50th convocation. So that tells you, in these 4 batches that are represented here today, you can see how 5th, 15th, 25th, the 88 batch was the 25th convocation. And I hope you got through this. I saw the reunion program. I wasn't here for the whole program, but I saw the agenda, and I think it is a very nice program. I hope you had a good through snapshots of various kinds of things that are going on. We saw the satellite project, which is a very long-term and very deep hands-on kind of project that students are doing. You must have heard about the solar photovoltaic effort, the housing effort, and when you stepped outside, you would have seen the sort of a snapshot of the vast amount of work in nanotechnology of different kinds that is going on in the institute. That display which you're seeing outside won us the award in the the country's premier nano conference in Bangalore last month. And so I think David has spoken about what we are doing regarding rankings. But what I would like to do is just share with you very briefly. It's very important to understand. Many of us, I remember going and peeping into a house in which we lived in when I was 7 years old, and I had a picture of it which was very different from what it was when I went again. So many of us have a picture of in our minds about what IIT is based on what it was. So it's important for me to just give you a couple of important data points for you to understand that things have moved on a lot. So we are now 8,000 students on this campus. Okay, so that's pretty much anywhere from 2.5 to 4 times what it was when these different batches were here, and probably more. I think 68 batch, the numbers would have been much less, and more than half these students are postgraduate students, and we are getting close to the point 1/4 of the students are actually PhD students, so about 2,000. So that will tell you about the intensity of research activity on campus. We are also very conscious about measuring and monitoring the quality of the research we do. So there are various ways in which one can do it. But to give you an idea, we just one of the data points that we learned very recently is that if you looked at all the papers published in the world and took the top 10% of cited papers globally in the last 4 years, 10% of the papers published at IIT Madras are in that top 10%. Okay, so I'm sure you'll find the numbers are much higher if you go to the top universities of the world. So this is not to say that we don't have a long way to go. This is just to say that we are in the picture. Okay, and what we have to do in the next 10 years is to work carefully with a clear strategy on all these fronts. The research front in terms of pure academic research, the basic bread and butter of research institute like university like us. Teaching, we continue to be among the best institutes in the world for undergraduate program. we are trying to achieve the same perception and ranking for our postgraduate programs, for our master's programs. So becoming very competitive to get into the master's programs in the IITs, including IIT Madras. And these course programs, I think they are undergoing a revolution. There's so much coming in by way of online technologies, online pedagogical techniques. We are also participating as part of the entire IIT system in the NPTEL program. We have already created a huge repository of courses for engineering education in the country, but more importantly, in the next phase, we are taking a very active role in live online teaching, looking at MOOCs. In fact, we are going to launch a MOOC for computer science, basic foundations of computer science starting January, thrown open to all engineering college students in the country in collaboration with NASSCOM. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on with regard to pedagogy and education also. And in terms of our own students, our strategy roughly is that we will grow. We are already about 550 faculty. We will grow to about 650 to 700 in the next 5 years. 6 to 6 years. By 2020, I expect we'll be at about 700. That's a large number. We'll have more than critical mass. And I think what we plan to do is to move to a situation where 50% of the courses are electives, and students can pretty much shape quite a bit what they will learn and what they would like to become. We will continue to operate under the constraints that you will have to choose your stream when you come in, either it's in the BTech or MTech program. It's going to be a long, long time before we can move to a situation where you can come into these institutes and decide what you want to learn, as you can in universities elsewhere, because there are national level constraints in doing that. But within that, we do want to offer students, within these constraints, we want to offer students the maximum possible choice in what they learn and how they learn it. We will have a combination of classroom teaching, good old classroom teaching, but also online learning, group learning, self-learning, project-driven learning, and all of these things. We are looking at all of these in our strategy, developing the strategy for the next 7-8 years. Research, I've already told you, there's a tremendous focus on research oriented towards industry. We are perceived, there's no measure, there's no proper study, but we are perceived widely in the country as being the leading IIT as far as industrial consulting and sponsored research is concerned. There's a big perception. There's also a perception now that in terms of incubation and entrepreneurship also we are probably the leading IIT. So we want to build on that. You heard some presentations on entrepreneurship in the institute. We have created the incubation cell, which is with a lot of participation from alumni. And I think it is going to really take off in a very big way in the next few years. We are incubating a lot of companies. And what we will see, I believe, in the next decade is that a very large number of IIT alumni and students and alumni actually, within a few years of their becoming alumni, I think we will find them starting companies and doing very well. And I think many of them will come back to their alma mater to actually do the startup. And this is already beginning to happen. So in terms of research, in terms of industry-facing work, in terms of entrepreneurship also, there's huge amount. The research park that was mentioned in the context of the alumni club is a very big initiative. It's the first of its kind in the country. The first phase, which had 1/3 of the space, about 400,000 square feet, is fully occupied. There are 50 plus companies who are there, apart from the incubated companies, and they work closely with faculty and students of IIT Madras. The physical presence makes the kind of collaborative work you do much better than what you get from a project that you sponsor from a distance. And we are now building the second phase, which is about 800,000 square feet, and very large companies and small ones, niche players, everybody is coming in there across all disciplines. And we are seeing, I think this is going to be a game changer. Many other IITs will also build research parks in the next decade, I'm sure. Some are already in the pipeline. So the other aspect is with that kind of a growth, we have to build our infrastructure. It has been a tough ask because we really don't want to change the way our campus was, is, and hopefully will be. And so we worked very hard to develop the master plan in such a way that we can add the amount of space we need, the hostels, the academic area, the residential space, without really, taking up a lot of virgin land for new buildings. And I think the new master plan that we have, the revised master plan, more or less achieves that. We've I think we've limited the use of unbuilt area to less than about 5 or 6 acres additionally. And mostly we are doing it by demolishing buildings which had, which are very old or which didn't have very good efficient use of these of the land. We are building a lot of high rises. If you walk past especially the women alumni, if you go near Sarayu, you'll find, of course, Saravati is already there, but next to Saravati is humongous. The largest hostel that the institute will have is a 700-room ladies hostel that's coming up. It will be ready by March fully, and we have to choose a name for it. And that is going to be the biggest hostel. All other hostels are about 400 rooms now, including the ones you lived in. They've all grown from 200 odd to 400 by various forms of expansion, including an additional floor. You can take a look at that. We are also adding 2 new men's hostels near Kaveri. So we're sort of getting there to the point where we'll have adequate hostel accommodation. In the academic zone is where the building started last. A huge complex is coming up where Knick-Knack and, I don't know what was called for the various batches, but the earlier days it was called Knick-Knack, and the godown used to be, and that will house most of 3 departments once it's ready, mathematics, chemical engineering and metallurgy. And we will add more space. Actually, we will have to add probably another 200,000-300,000 square feet in the, totally about 400,000 square feet in the academic area over the next 10 years. The important thing is that there's a whole lot of research centers. There are already about nearly a dozen, about 10 of them on campus. You saw some things today, but there are big centers like there's a center for combustion research, which nobody talked about today. There's a huge center for nanophotonics and nanomems. There's a center for the safety of heritage structures. So we are probably the best in the country if you want to worry about how to ensure that our old temples, buildings, palaces don't collapse in the next earthquake. Ensuring the safety of heritage structures, that's now been recognized, and we have got a national center here on that. So there are all kinds of centers that are. There's a Center for Technology and Policy, which is just a few weeks old. So these centers actually bring in a whole lot of faculty from different disciplines together and create the environment and ambience for taking up very strong multidisciplinary research. So all these require space. The residential areas also we have to build up, and you might see as you come in near the shopping center, you've seen those multi-story buildings. Some more are coming up. So we'll manage. But it is probably the toughest of the, getting the infrastructure right without changing the character of the campus is probably the biggest challenge in all the things that we have to do in the next 10 years. We also continue to have the animals with, here, the deer, the monkeys, everything else, and it is becoming a challenge to make sure they are not hurt when we do go about with this kind of building activity and growth. So we constantly battling all these challenges, but I think it's always fun to be in this. We are not having, it's never a boring or a tiresome day, and so that's sort of the picture I want to leave you with. Beehive of activity, going in the right direction, a lot of challenges, need a lot of help. Not just in funding, but in terms of your thoughts, in terms of your what you maybe the expertise that you have. But most importantly, I want IIT Madras to be in your thoughts every day, every hour. I would rather answer questions rather than say anything more. So I throw the floor open for questions that you may have. Thank you.